If you saw the community post that I did, or you have been checking the game's Game Jolt page, then you already know that the game is done. But before you go download it, you should stay until the end, because I have an important announcement to make about the game's future. But before we start, just for those who are new to this devlog series, I suggest you watch the other devlogs. The link to the playlist is on the screen and also in the description. But for those who already watched and need a quick reminder, basically, Florial's Carnival is in its final stages. With the bones of the game done and most of the important parts of the meat dealt with, it's time to finish this game once and for all. So, without further delay, let's start with the part that I missed in the last video, which is the optimization. Well, because the last video was already too long, I neglected the optimization part of the video. But because this topic is quite complicated, I'll try to keep it extremely simple. So, basically, because everything was made in one single file, this meant that everything was loaded at once, when it wasn't needed, so I used level streaming. What is level streaming? It's a system that, in its core, functions as a way to load and deload assets at will. Unfortunately, I'll not explain how this works, because this video will get too long, so if you are interested, just search the term level streaming. So, to make use of this tool, I needed to create the famous loading screen, and this was really simple to make. I just made it so it would appear on the screen every time some large amounts of assets were needed to load at the same time. So, with that done, I started working on the lore! Yes, I'm going to be talking about that. The lore of Florial's universe can be tracked way back to its first Minecraft map. But if I want to continue the lore of said universe, I cannot expect people to go dig into those Minecraft maps. So with that in mind, I made 5 Nights at Florial's 2 with the intent to close that chapter of the lore and start a new one. The idea here isn't only to start a new chapter of the lore, it's also to introduce people to the Florial's universe from the view of a new protagonist. In this game, you take the role of a private investigator obsessed with uncovering the truth behind Florial's entertainment, and after you get some intel from a higher up in Florial's, you get to a Florial's Carnival, an abandoned circus run by Florial's Entertainment. I also tried to make the lore a bit interesting for those who have a grasp of the last chapter's lore, but this part I cannot explain since, well, I want you guys to figure that out for yourselves. So to do that I needed to put some clues all over the map, and to achieve that I used techniques such as environmental storytelling, yes I'm really original, and also by scattering some notes for the player to find by either playing the game naturally or by exploring the map. And that's all of them. Because this game is really small, I cannot add lots of lore to it since this is a horror game, not a visual novel. So, adding to that, it's time to talk about the last thing that is needed to make this a proper game, the gameplay. This part is quite interesting. So, the gameplay can be divided into parts. The first one being the investigation part, where you have a couple of missions that you need to complete in order to find the main objective, which is Florial. And to accompany that, I made some voice lines for the main character. And I must say, they are horrible, but it gets the job done, you know? And yeah, I know, I could just hire someone, but I don't want to spend more money in this project, so I'll keep it as it is. Anyways, after that segment, you have the second part, which is the part where you need to leave the circus while Florial is trying to hunt you down. But to not spoil the game too much, I'll leave the question how you leave for you to figure out. And with this done, it's time to talk about the thing that I did almost no mention of, the main menu. Well, I must admit that this part of the game creation is the most boring one, so I'll just save you the trouble of hearing about the play options and quit buttons, since there is not a lot of things to say. As for the extras button, well, this one is kinda interesting. The objective of this button is to show the credits, the collectibles, and the mystery option. Ooh, mystery. The credits, well, let's not talk about them. But as for the collectibles, well, they are simply all the papers that you can collect throughout the game. The system is kinda simple. It basically just tracks what paper you collected throughout the run and saves that info. So after you run, you can check the papers that you collected and if there is more to collect. Oh, and by the way, you can also click on them to raid said papers. And that's all for the main 4 buttons, but we have more than those buttons in the main menu. I also added some rewards to when you complete certain difficulties of the game or collect all the collectibles. So when you complete the easy difficulty, you get 1 star, normal difficulty you get 2, and the hard 3. And for the collectibles, you get this envelope with the golden coin inside. This is simply a way to reward the player for completing the game bit by bit. And now, the moment you have been all waiting for. The secret that some may already know. Well, let me explain. If for some reason you had gone to the game's Game Jolt page, you could see that in the description I mentioned challenges and a new difficulty called Madness. The challenges are what the name implies. They are simply modifiers to make the game harder. For example, one of those challenges will be called Double Trouble, where you would have 2 Florials instead of just 1. As for the new difficulty, well, I'll leave it a secret for now, but just keep in mind that it will not be only all the modifiers together. Oh no. That would be too simple. But anyways, with that in mind, let me explain how these 2 features will appear in the game. Basically, these 2 features will appear in a future update for the game. But there's a catch. The update will only happen if the game is proven to be worthy of one. How is that going to happen? Well, this is going to happen only if the game gets positive feedback from you guys. Yes, I'll basically just leave the fate of this game in your hands. My goal to make the update happen is for the Game Jolts page to get at least 3 mostly positive comments or 3 additional likes. If these conditions are met, then you will see an update for Florial's Carnival in the future. If not, well, I'll just start a new project. And that's all I've got to say. If you wish to play the game, the link is in the description. The game is a bit heavy because of Unreal Engine, but also because of some things that I want to do in the future. But yeah, I have been Void, and I'll see you next time!